You are predicting a bright future for the industry, it sounds like. And how about humans in this industry?
It's a relationship business. It's a relationship industry. Relationships don't exist without humans. We've seen a lot of AI tools. We've experimented with a lot of them, and I'm sure they'll continue to evolve and get better. But people need to be involved and continue to be at the forefront, both with customers and each other.
Welcome back to Keys to Real Estate. In last week's conversation with John Freyer Jr., we talked about the broader industry, where things are headed, and why this moment may be more of an opportunity than it can feel like at first glance. In this episode, we're narrowing down the focus. John shares the story behind building a title and settlement software platform from the inside out, what it means to take years of operational experience and turn it into technology. We get into what the market was asking for, where some legacy systems were falling short, and why customer-centric isn't just a phrase, it's a design requirement. And along the way, there's a bigger question underneath it all. How do you build something that actually reflects the way this industry works? So let's pick up on the conversation with John right now. The presenting sponsor for this season of Keys to Real Estate is First American Trust. First American Trust redefines banking for title and escrow companies. They offer innovative solutions that integrate banking functions directly into title and escrow software systems, enhancing operational efficiency and safeguarding financial transactions. At First American Trust, you have direct access to a personal relationship manager who delivers answers in real time. First American Trust is also recognized as an elite provider for the American Land Title Association. As a wholly owned subsidiary of First American Financial Corporation, they have roots in real estate tracing back over 135 years and is the only bank owned by a title company. With deep roots, advanced solutions, and a commitment to real relationships, they are setting a new standard for the industry. The future of banking for title and escrow starts with First American Trust. Visit firstamtrust.com to learn more. John, welcome back to Keys to Real Estate. Glad to have you back.
Thanks, Mary. Thanks for having me back. Always good to catch up with you.
Well, last week we talked a little bit about your first job, but you have also stepped off into a world that I know a little bit about, and I'm excited to talk with people about. You guys built some software for title people by title people. I wondered, how did you determine there was an appetite for that out there in the world?
Gosh, Mary, I wish it was some sort of divine intervention or vision that came to us. We were very fortunate. The title agent that I'm involved in leading and working for the past couple decades had invested going back to the 80s, when computers were first coming around, in proprietary technology and solutions, going back to the DOS screens. And it had involved, like all technology does, where you were bolting on different solutions. And there were days where time periods where you had servers and computers on 2x4s with fans going. And
True. That's true.
Oh my God, things have come so far. God bless the cloud. So we had great technology, and it was really coming out of the great financial crisis and some of the TRID changes. We had kind of built on top of that Unidata, green screen environment, different GUI applications, and even a couple browser applications. And coming out of the great financial crisis and TRID, when they basically said, listen, we're going to shift from the HUD to the closing disclosure. And our systems at the time were all HUD-based. They said, all right, we've got to make a huge change. And our guess was, and we'll see in the years, decades ahead, that this won't be the last time the government changes the core documents. And so we need to make this not a one document specific or centric platform, but something that populates a ton of different documents out there. And so during that, we rewrote the system. And in wanting to do that, we said, well, let's also leap to the most modern technology out there, more modern coding language and database language and all that sort of thing. So we made that change, that big leap in kind of 2014, 15, 16 timeframe to basically rebuild our entire systems internally. And what came out of it is what we call Settlor today. It's a cloud-based, browser-based platform using Python and your basic SQL database. And, as we kind of adopted that, people in the industry would call and say, hey, we're hearing about what you all are using. What is the name of it? And we said, it doesn't have a name. It's our own proprietary deal. well, can we come take a look at it? We'd love to see it. And so we were showing it to people, and hey, would you ever license it or sell it to us? And we said, well, we're not set up to do that. And so there was just enough interest going along there that we finally decided, with a number of other factors, to say, listen, this is a great opportunity and a great asset. And so let's basically sell it to a new group of investors outside of the core business for them to go out and run it as a totally different business model and entity. And so that was really the birth of Settlor in 2020, that we kind of formed the entity. In 2021, summerish, late summerish, hired the folks and started to build it out and kind of take it out to the marketplace. So it wasn't this real prescriptive deal. It was kind of listening to the marketplace, seeing where we had a valuable asset, and then kind of setting it loose.
Did you feel nervous about going to market when you did? I wasn't nervous for you because I knew what the demand was for a solution like this, but I wonder internally, did you get hives thinking about it?
I mean, we were totally nervous about it. I mean, effectively, it had been born and kind of nurtured in one company, and now you're taking it out into the wild to go out and sell in a totally separate team that's out there selling the product to new folks out there. And your biggest fear is, you go out there and people are like, yeah, it's a dud. And now what do you do? How do you kind of generate that interest? And at the time, it was 2021. I mean, COVID was still cranking. And the first event, I'll never forget, it was Alta One in New Orleans. And so we were there meeting with folks and relationships that I'd cultivated over the last 10, 15 years, just to sit down with them and say, hey, we've started this new business. We have this technology. What do you think? Would you be interested? And as we've talked about before, Mary, relationships are so key that everyone was like, yeah, we'll sit down and listen to you. And there had just been some consolidation that took place in literally the months prior to that. And so as we sat down with folks, they were really interested and engaged in hearing more about the solution. And that kind of got us off and running. It was nothing more than just really fortunate, lucky timing.
Well, I'm wondering, when you sat down and had those conversations, both then and since then, like what deficits were you hearing from them? What frustrations, what needs were you hearing from them that you related to from your agent life that you thought you could help fix for them?
Yeah, and we'd heard about it there, and we'd heard about it, a little bit before we made the decision to kind of take this leap. One of the big things was a lot of the platforms, and this is not meant to be disparaging of anybody, were just more legacy platforms built on older technology. No different than ours was, going back to pre-TRID and the great financial crisis. So a lot of folks were concerned that those platforms weren't evolving. Vendors out there that were trying to evolve those platforms and launch new ones, it wasn't going very well. So we were hearing that there was some general frustration out there. I think cybersecurity and a lot of those threats were becoming more and more prevalent, and people were worried, how do I continue to protect and invest in my environment, whether it's 50 to 500 users, and the cost of protecting this versus leveraging cloud services? How do I do that? And then also, just as platforms came along, one, were they able to integrate with a lot of new vendors and technologies out there? And then two, can you tailor it to my business, and is it scalable? And we were just seeing as people made a lot of tailoring and customization, and then updates and releases would come out, and because they had bolted on their own applications and different things, and things were breaking. And so can you solve that with new technology? So those were the things we'd kind of heard of the marketplace. And we thought at the time Settlor solved all of them, if not the majority of them.
That's amazing. And then another question we hear is, okay, it was great in Colorado. How's it going to do in Kansas or Utah or wherever? I mean, tell us about how that evolution has come along, because it can be different in every county, as you well know.
Well, it is different in every county and in most states. And I will tell you, one of the biggest things that we've learned is it's different in every title company. And again, that's what's the beauty of this industry, is every company feels like they do things the best way possible. And so you need to then build a TPS that can help them leverage what they view as their special sauce. And if you force them into one path and one solution or process, they feel like you're really restricting their business. So at the core, that was really a big part of what we felt like we could do better, which is to take some of those expectations and tailor those into our platform. And so by going to each state, we had to figure that out, and we worked closely. And that's really one of the key things that we focus on at Settlor, Mary, is we are customer centric. At the end of the day, we listen to our customers. And now that doesn't mean we do every single thing that they want, because sometimes that's not feasible. And we really try and be partners to help them understand that. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of vendors reach out to us and say, hey, we want to integrate with Settlor. And we say, that's great. Which customer are you working with? Well, we don't have a customer yet. Well, then get with a customer, then we're happy to do the integration, but we don't want to go out and integrate with everybody. It needs to be customer driven. So we really let our customers help have an influence and input in our roadmap, the people that we partner with. And through that, that's how we then go into these different states, different counties, different markets to work with our customers to understand their process. And so you build a base for a new state. And then with each new customer you bring on, you kind of tweak and make the adjustments. Before you know it, you've got a good, robust solution for any player in that state.
It can be done a lot quicker when you understand the business that you're building the software to go around. You don't have to stop and learn what is it, what is a commitment, what is a policy, what is an estoppel, right? I mean,
yeah, and that's why we partner with our customers. And also, if you look across our employee base, I would say the vast majority, 90+%, have spent time in the title and escrow industry. And if they haven't, then we spend a lot of time sending them out, even a software developer, to sit with our customers to really understand what a title examiner does, what a closer or escrow officer does, because you really can't build great solutions without having sat in the seat of your users. And I will tell you, that's one of our greatest assets and key competitive advantages is my co-founder, Mike Patterson. I mean, he loves to work with users and customers to understand their needs, to come up with solutions for them. And so you find him like smiling and energized and the most engaged when he's actually on the floor of one of our customers, seeing how they're using the product, seeing what he can do to improve it, trying to find solutions for them. It's magic. It's fun to watch.
It is magic. My old chief product officer bones are tingling at that because you're exactly right. It is magic. When you see a problem, a longstanding frustration, and you go with the customer, design a solution, then you give it to them.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic
feeling. It makes everybody feel good. It's really the fun part of the business. And it's
really
what we look forward to doing.
It really
with our
is.
Customers.
So is customer centric, customer is key? Is that the main philosophy for the company?
Yeah, and that probably comes from growing up in the industry, which is if you don't take care of the customer, somebody else will, I think was something our founder used to say back in the day. And so it does start with the customers. We'll tell you, we are a software company, so technology is important. So we really do talk about being cloud-based in a software as a service model because of all the security and scalability and flexibility to access the platform from your phone or tablet or laptop without having to go through all the remote desktop clients and that sort of stuff. So that's a big part of it. And then really our other approach is just being open and integrated, right? So we want to integrate with folks out there. We don't want to build the solution for every single service that's needed out there. There are a lot of great partners and vendors doing some incredible stuff, innovative stuff. And so we would rather integrate, partner with them, bring them onto the platform with a customer, and then open that up to other customers. And that's a key part of our model. We kind of look at it, and it may not be the best metaphor, Mary, but like the Apple App Store, right? We're not going to go build every single app for somebody. We're not going to build the Spotify. I know there's Apple Music, but we're not going to go build Snap, and we're not going to build everything out there. You're going to partner with these other companies that are so much more vested and have the expertise and that nuance and allow them to drive innovation and provide a great product. And by adding them and empowering them on our platform, we feel they can best serve customers, and it helps us serve and attract customers. So that open integrated model is a key part. We don't charge a bunch of fees and take a bunch of tolls from these folks because we want, again, being customer centric, we want the customers to be empowered and feel like it's a benefit to work with those partners through our platform. So it's really the cloud, being open, integrated, and then that kind of customer centric. And then I would also just say we are independent and privately funded within the industry. So we don't have to grow crazy fast and show wallet share and expanding total addressable market, TAM, all that sort of stuff. We can focus on taking care of our customers. We can take the long view to how we want to build the business. And I know that sounds scary in a technology-driven world where you got to be growing crazy fast and everything's got to be done by tomorrow. But we really want to invest with our customers, view them as partners, and growing this over the long term as a great platform or ecosystem for all of us.
It sounds like it has great sustainability embedded in the whole concept.
Well, we hope.
I'm wondering, I know that, you're only 5-6 years into this side of the adventure, but what have you learned so far along the way?
Oof. Lots.
How much time do you have?
Lots. Yeah, that's right. As I mentioned before, I think one of the big things is that no two agents, no two companies are alike, which is actually a beautiful thing. And if you can take how this company does it and this company does it, and you can kind of blend them together, you make both folks happy and you overall improve the experience. And if you more and more folks you add to that, the better and better the experience gets. I see that as a good lesson learned and something we're always trying to figure out how to better blend or balance what people want, customizing with the need to be able to scale and grow. I think the thing that I love in building this company is just being involved in this industry, the network of partners and vendors, underwriters, agents. I don't know, haven't been in banking and investment banking and telecom startup world previously. I don't know that there's any industry like it. And it's not everybody, but the vast majority, they want to help each other succeed. And I just think that's the beauty of the industry. And we've gotten a front row seat with our customers that are working with vendors, vendors that are introducing you to other vendors, to other customers that come on. It's just this great kind of flywheel of everybody wanting to help benefit each other. And so it's just uplifting each day that you get to work with partners that want to do that. So that's been one of the beauties and making sure that you're not only the beneficiary of that, but you're contributing to that as well and paying it forward.
Yeah, there's so many people in this industry doing it for the right reasons that it really is its own reward, I think. So it sounds like since you've gone forward with this vision, it sounds like you are predicting a bright future for the industry, it sounds like. And how about humans in this industry? Are you feeling positive about humans in this industry?
It's a relationship business. It's a relationship industry. Relationships don't exist without humans. And listen, we've seen a lot of AI tools. We've experimented with a lot of them. And I'm sure they'll continue to evolve and get better. But people need to be involved and continue to be at the forefront, both with customers and each other. So I don't see 80% of our back office or our business disappearing and getting wiped out. I see folks getting empowered. And frankly, we have to. I would tell you, Mary, in my opinion, one of the biggest dangers we have with a lot of these technologies and AI specifically is if you bring in these AI tools to replace your entry-level production folks. You fast forward 5 years, 10 years, who's your top commercial title officer? Who's your top production folks? Because you need those folks. Those are based on human connections. And you're going to kind of rob the future for the benefit of today. And I think that's a bit of a devil's bargain.
Short-term thinking is the biggest bogey, I think, out there. I agree with you with this all the opportunities and all the concerns. I lose some sleep on that one.
Yeah. And don't fall victim to the folks, as we talked about, that are saying, hey, you got to adopt this, you got to do that. That makes great sense for their business model, but then you are then beholden to that business model, whether you're partnering with someone selling your business, selling an interest in a business, or signing up for a service, you are now beholden to that. And so be really cautious the deal you make today and what you have to pay tomorrow for it.
Well, thanks for spending all of your waking hours thinking about how to evolve us into a better future. Lots of luck with the product. I know that there are agents out there that are looking around at options right now to understand what all is available. A lot of folks know they need to make a change, and it's always a kind of an intimidating proposition. It's conversion is never an easy process, but if you can grit through the pain, there is a lot of gain to be found. And so thanks for helping people get on the right side of their tomorrow, I think is what I'm saying.
I kind of like that phrase. That's a beautiful one. And thanks for just stimulating these conversations, Mary. It's super important to have folks sharing their perspective on things. And you and October Research and this podcast help to get those perspectives out there. And there's nothing more important, especially in a time of a lot of change and questioning. So my compliments and hats off to you and October Research.
Well, that's a wrap with my conversation with John Freyer Jr. of Settlor. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And I think John's words leave us with a perspective that can be all too easy to overlook, that the best innovation in this space doesn't come from outside disruption alone. Effective evolution also comes from people who know the work well enough to rethink it. So while we talked about building technology that reflects real workflows, the importance of staying close to the customer, and why this industry, despite all of its complexity, still runs on relationships at its core. And maybe that's the through line across both conversations. Whether we're talking about change, risk, or innovation, the future here isn't just about tools. At the end of the day, it's still about how we choose to show up and do the work. So to reach John or to learn more about Settlor, we provided a link in today's show notes. And thanks for joining us on Keys to Real Estate. I'm Mary Schuster for October Research, where knowledge is the competitive advantage.